Right. So the three questions that we want to answer today is why waiting years to get paid is usually a myth, how to find and compare active projects in minutes, and how to negotiate deals with the findings that we have. Okay.
Love it.
Now, there's pre-sale money most realtors never see, not because they aren't good at their job, but because the information moves faster than anyone can track by hand, which means prices, incentives, and deposits and commission terms changing constantly across hundreds of projects. So in the next little bit, we'll show you what most realtors get wrong and how to fix those beliefs today. Again, the first one is you wait years to actually get paid. Most realtors think pre-sale means you wait until the building is finished, 3 to 4 years down the road, but every project is structured differently. Even two projects from the same developer can pay completely differently, different commission, different bonuses, different timing. The payout is not always at the end of construction. On one project, you might get a portion when the deal goes firm. On the other, a share partway through, say 50% at construction milestone. Some pay at a set window after a trigger, 90 days after firm, or 6 months after initial deposit. And yes, some do actually pay at the end of completion. The point isn't the exact number. It is that the timing is all over the map, and a lot of it lands far earlier than years from now. So a lot of pre-sale and new construction currently are giving more incentives just because the market is slow, and we hear that all across the news. So if you assume every pre-sale pays years out, you may be walking past cash flow and deals, and you may not understand the full project if you don't know the terms. And here is the catch, and that's why we actually built this, is because every project is different and these terms change. You can't hold it in your head, or you can't trust a brochure from 6 months ago. You need a tracked per project, verified and dated. So that's the belief that we want to make sure that, we debunk that myth that pre-sales don't pay right away. Now, a lot of pre-sales might give you 2%, 3%, 4%, and 5% commissions, which might be payout much higher and better than a resale commission. And there are bonuses from like 2,000, 5,000, 50,000, depending on what type of unit it is. Some of these penthouses that haven't sold for maybe a year, some of these we've seen that are paying out 4% across the board commission, plus like $40,000, $50,000 commission. Bonus. Now, doesn't necessarily mean that everyone could sell these right away. If they've been sitting for a while, it might be out of a lot of people's price points, less customers available to buying something that's worth like 3 to 5 million. However, those payouts are significant. Now, the other belief we wanted to answer is that it's too complicated, don't know where to start, it's just too confusing, and it's too hard to even get started. And that's the second belief that we're going to debunk right now. What we're going to show you is if you had a client, a couple, let's just say, and they're looking for a 1-bedroom, 1 washroom in Surrey, and their biggest concern is price point, because it's really hard to afford mortgages these days. I think the mortgages are above 4% right now, and trying to find the best layout is a lot of homework involved. So what we did is we did all that homework for you, and I'm going to go through that. We have multiple views under records. We have list view, grid view, and map view. I'll go through all those one by one, and the scenario of a potential buyer that's a couple looking for that 1-bed, 1-bath. Now, this is based upon, we have documented over 1,200 projects and almost 7,000 layouts with 430 developers documented. And let's just go right into that. So this is the list view. And I had this already started before, but I'm just going to clear this off so you can see how I get to the housing record. As you can see, it's pretty powerful. It is quick. It does need a little bit of time sometimes to load up. But while that's doing that, I can still go to the city. We're going to go to Surrey, as our couple is looking in Surrey, looking for 1-bedroom, and they're going to be looking for 1-bath. Now, what I recommend is searching by min price. That way you can see the lay of the land. And we also go from the from date. We always go to 2025 to start. It's going to go January, go back to January, and January 1st. The reason this is, we don't want anything before 2024 or 2023, might screw the numbers. And from 2025, there's a lot of units are not even sold. So we want to be part of that pool when we actually do this filter. You will do that search. And as you can see how powerful that is. Now, when it comes to list view versus grid view, I'll do the exact same thing. We're going to go again to Surrey. We're going to go to 1 bed, 1 bath, min. I won't do this. I'm just going to go search so you get the understanding of this. The difference between list view, doing that filter, and grid view is list view is more of a macro. So the starting price is based upon the actual projects, the starting layout. So 1N1, 309, 101 for Central City, 339, roughly 340. The difference with grid view is independent of the projects, is strictly based upon layouts, regardless of which project they fall under, right? So the cheapest one with 310, basically 309, then 340, then 349, and onwards. List view, again, is per project. You can expand it, and you can see that all the different layouts here. So that's the difference between grid view versus list view. Map view, pretty self-explanatory. You could go into it based upon the map, and you could click here, and you can see different projects, and you could open up those projects accordingly. But we're going to go back to list view, and we're going to start from here. So again, you have a couple that's looking for 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom in Surrey, and they're cautious about the price point. Once you do that filter, you can also download this report, which will download this layout, all the pages that we have for 1N1. You can see the bedroom benchmarks for 1 bedroom. You have your median price, your average price, your medium square footage, your average square footage, your 2 and 3 bedroom. You also have your lowest, which is 309, documented right here, your highest, your price spread, and your best price per square feet, and your highest price per square feet. Now, how do we navigate to find the best layout for this client? We look at all these layouts, and we're looking for the most green, and if not the most green, blue, and then the worst will be red. And what I mean by that is green means it's below market or better than market. Red is above market or below the market. So in square footage, it kind of flips versus the price. In square footage, it means that it's smaller than the benchmark, which near the benchmark is always neutral, which is blue. So this is the cheapest. However, it is fairly small compared to other layouts. It's 396 square footage, where the neutral is 500. Your client, if they're looking for a 1 bedroom, 1 bath, they may be okay with this because it's 310,000, which is a steal. However, are they okay with the square footage, with their maybe their furniture? If they're going to host, is this the right layout for them? Price per square feet is neutral, so we can also have that as a metric, and you can understand the layout. But what we're going to do is let's find something that has more green to it. So we expand the action button here on Century City Holland Park on Park Tower 1. You can see that this layout A2 has green for the price, 363,000, green for the layout, the square footage, which is above 502, larger, so it's green. If it's smaller, it'd be red, and it has a good price per square feet, which is neutral. We're going to save this for my favorite, and we're also going to save this one just for a favorite, and I can show you what happens later. And let's just see if we can find any other ones that we feel that are a good deal here. Gildan Building B, E, F, and G look like they're really nice as well. As you can see, green across the board and a blue, green across the board. Now, this in particular, you'll see different hues of green. The darker the green means the better it is compared relatively to the median price. As you can see, this is darker. This is 419, 375 versus 459. That hue is a little bit closer to neutral. This is the further away, so it gets darker. But we're going to take these 3 as well, and we'll add that to our favorites. Let's go a little bit deeper. Pura Phase 2 Layout B is pretty good as well. 560,000 almost. 617 and 745. We're going to favorite that. Let's open up the other ones. Do we see more green? No. Let's go to the next, City Corners. You see something a little bit neutral here with 2 blues. I'll just favorite that. And I'll go to Victory. Nothing in Victory. And Chronicle E-Plan, you have something great here as well. Now, these all will get favorited, and it'll go into my records. But before we get there, let's actually go into one of these records and see how much information we can extract from here and see how much value we can bring. Out of all these, let's go to Century City Holland Park, Park Tower 1, A2. I'm going to click here. It's going to open up the housing record here. And here's your housing record. Now it is updated today. That's the freshness. You can always review when this was updated. You have all your information like price, square footage, beds, and bath. One thing that we added here is market signals, and it'll advise you exactly the percentages away from the market median. So this is listed as 363,000, which is 38% below the benchmark of 589,000. Now the benchmark is based upon regional pricing. We will also have city pricing added to this, but right now it's based upon the regional benchmarks. You also have your 554 square footage, which is near 2.3% the actual benchmark of 567. However, the square footage is significantly below the medium regional average, which is 36%. Again, we'll go deeper with the city ones, which is coming out very soon here. How much can you trust this record? We have all the verified information here. You can look at the trust summary and what was last updated. You can look at any incentives, which we have documented, which is a real estate bonus of $5,000. You can see any price changes that have been done. This one is just showing that when the initial entry was priced out, it was priced at $363,000. And I'll go a little bit further into that shortly. Value metrics, a little bit simple here. It has the same information here. Once you scroll down, you might not want to go back up, so you can see all the information around this information here, all put together nicely. One of the most powerful things that we have put together is the financials. You'll see the deposit structure is 5%. The full calculated total based upon this particular layout is roughly 18,000. The initial deposit that this project would want is 10,000. So we have it split up. So once you do your initial deposit, we also take out what the writing is exactly to. So when you're putting in trust, your initial deposit is $10,000. The second deposit is less than initial deposit, which we show here as well. So initial deposit 10,000 less that from 18. Remaining deposit is 8,000. So this is built out so they can understand how that structure works. We also try to extract the strata as well, which is 0.65. Now in pre-sales and new construction, that is temporarily placeholder. After some months or a year, you'll have a better idea because it's brand new. This may go higher, right? So as a realtor, as a professional, you need to let your client know that this is just a temporary square footage. Price per square foot when it comes to strata. It can change in the project once that contingency fund starts building up and seeing where the cost actually is. So that is something that you should let your clients know for sure. We have your description, which gives you a nice little blurb about the actual project. And if you go further down, you can also see when it was verified, July 8th, and you can also view the actual layout itself. And if you go further down, you get your home and building amenities all put together in a nice table. You can see the location and you can see a little bit more of the financial incentives. So with some of the stuff that we do, we carry in multiple sections here, just because we want you to always remember what the actual major inputs of data or deposits or incentives is always there. Just because you're scrolling, there's so much information. That's why we repeat it purposely like that. If you want to see even further about the actual verification process, we have all the files here. You can click on view and it'll give you more information about what was updated when, and you can see all the documents, all the referrals, the metrics, the verification, how we done it, and what we actually used to make sure that we have all this information up to date and current at all times. So we're not just scraping data. We're not using AI just to scrape websites. We are physically updating with pictures, documents, dossiers, whatever we can get from either the presentation center from visits, emails, or calls. So we take all the information and we build all these records. If you go further down, we have the market benchmarks. As mentioned earlier, this is regional. And if you're looking at a project like we did, your client is a couple, 1 bedroom, 1 washroom. So within this particular project, we have all the comparable housing records that are 1 bedroom, 1 washroom. As you can see, these are the different layouts within the project that match that. And as you can see that this project right here, this layout, sorry, A5 has gone down to 505,000. I'm going to quickly open this up. And we can have we'll go quickly down here and I can show you. The first initial entry was January 28th of 2026. This project was listed at 621,000, roughly 622,000. At that time, no completion date was provided, but the deposit structure was 20%. This same layout as of March 5th went down to roughly 505,000. Difference in price per square feet. We had an updated completion date, which they had, the information wasn't provided at that time. And the deposit went from 20% down to 5%. Huge decrease in the time. As you can see, pre-sales and new construction in the news hasn't sold. So now the developers and project managers are now providing that many more incentives. And that's why we feel that a lot of people should be selling pre-sales and new construction, getting the data, getting the value, and then presenting it to their clients. If you can find a one bedroom, one washroom around 500,000 versus a resale, it may be out of reach. However, if you look at the ones that are much cheaper, like this layout, 363,000 with versus a resale, this might be a very competitive unit to sell versus a resale. If you have a resale, might be the same price, it might be 5 to 10 years old versus a brand new one that's completed that you can move in ready at 363,000. And now your client can get a brand new one versus an older one. And that's another reason about always looking into pre-sales and new construction and having that metric to compare to resale. We don't have MLS data, but you can always compare that with this data to the MLS to see if there are deals out there. Now, this was records within the project. If you scroll down a little bit further, you're going to get records within 5 kilometers of the radius of that project. Now, this is Surrey, so this list is going to be fairly big. You got Belvedere, you got Park George, Sky Living, District Northwest, the Manhattan, Parksville, City Corners, Juno, Parkway 2, Sokoa, District Northwest. All these layouts, one bedroom, one washroom, all listed here. So if your client wants a selection or wants comparables right in one page, they can see all the different ones right here. And if you're doing a live video like this, it's easier for them to follow along when they see all this color coding as well. And if you go down, it is the record history on this one, but since this was the initial record that we updated, there's no price change on this particular layout, so it remains as is. Now, if you're not doing a live video like this with your client and you want to be able to share this, there's 2 ways you can actually share this housing record. First way is you can export a PDF. Let's give it some time. So open it up here. And now this is the housing record that's exported. It's a little bit different in the way that it is presented. Here, we only have one thumbnail as a picture that you can scroll through, which you can see how that project actually looks. You can actually enlarge it as well. But once you download it, we have multiple thumbnails. We'll have all the information provided. It'll say who was exported by, exported date, updated, all the information that was in the housing record as well, just presented a little bit differently. You get the market signals, you get the project identity, what was verified, when, value metrics, the trust summary. You get the financials of the deposit structure, which is very important to the client. They need to know how much money needs to be put down and when and where. The incentives, you got the description, you got the layout that they're interested in, project location, additional financial information, and the difference between the amenities here than the amenities here is clearly listed with green text to show that this is included in the project. You got other tables here for parking and garage, outdoor and terrace. More documents and evidence that verify this record. We also bring in benchmarks for 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and 3 bedroom. And again, this is regional. We'll bring in the city shortly and any record history. Then you have your disclaimers as well. So that's one way to share this with your clients. Another way to share this that you see is there's a live arrow. You click this, copy this right here, paste it right here. And now you have a live URL that you can send over to your clients or anyone else on your team that might be interested in this unit to sell. Now it also says shared by whoever's sharing it. And it has a little bit different kind of layout than the actual housing record. But for the most part, it's pretty similar. You have your market benchmarks and you have your compare housing records within the project. And you also have it within the 5 kilometers. Now, the difference here is if they're not signed in, if your client wants to look into some record deeper, they're going to have to physically sign in to get more information, depending on what tier you're on. So there's a little gate for us so that we can get people to use the system more. What we're going to introduce more is that each realtor that has a client or a buyer that's interested in any of these projects, and also interested in the system, they'll be attached to your profile and they'll unlock a certain filter, and I'll show you that in a bit. That's X out of there. So that's the housing record, and is displayed more powerfully than what we see out there. And that's why we built this. We want to bring out the most value to every realtor, make them look professional, ahead of the curve, experienced, own their neighborhood. And that's what we recommend is if anyone is a pre-sale, getting into pre-sale or new construction, you can find deals all over different cities, but own your backyard first, own the city first, own the project first. Make sure you're the most experienced, have the most up-to-date information. That way you are ahead of your competitors and you're outstanding compared to all your peers. So if you're the one with the information, presenting this to your client, looking more professional, have better reports, have better PDFs, you're more likely to win over that client than the next realtor. Now I'm going to go back to list view. And we had a few of these as our favorites. But before we go to the records to show how that looks, what if we want to compare these? We have this icon right there where we can click here to add to our compare. You could go up to 6. As you can see, heart is there. Let's compare this one as well. Now we got 2. We'll compare one of these buildings here. Let's compare this one. Let's go down. Now we got Pearl. We'll add that into there as well. City Corners Phase 1, we'll add that to the compare. And Chronicle E-Plan, let's add that into the compare. So now we have all 6. We're going to just click on Open Compare. And now this builds out you a report as well. You can do the exact same thing as well. You can export the PDF, and you can also do the live URL, which you can send over to your client. If you're doing a video presentation like this, your client can see all their favorite layouts compared right here. You'll have your prices, your square footage, price per square feet. And then you have your benchmarks. You're in the group versus a city versus the regional, and then your group, median price per square feet, and city. So you can see out of these ones, these two seem to be the price the best. Within the group itself, you get your deposit structures. Some of these have bonuses, like Century City Hall and Park has a $5,000 bonus, and Pura Phase 2 has a $7,500 bonus. So if for some reason that your client's open to any other project or unit, you can maybe negotiate something with this bonus. Maybe there's a kickback. Maybe there's something that you guys can work out. But some of these bonuses go higher as well. Now you also have incentives, $35,000, which is a deduction of the price. One thing that we're following is when these projects file REDMA, there's a lot of addendums. But not every addendum will show the drift in price because they'll hide it in incentives and upgrades. And that is something that we're also documenting as well. We have very deep reports that I'm not going to go into in this presentation, where we actually have price differentiation, price drift, risk management. We're actually working with Rennie Group and building out these reports for them. They have us tasked with that. They provided us with Zonda reports and advised us, here are the gaps. Can you build this out? So we've been building this out very deeply, and those upgrades and updates will actually get transferred to the system that you see right now. So there's a lot of features that are about to be rolled out as well in the next 30 days. You can go further down. You can also see what is pre-construction, completed in construction, and in the filters, you can filter all this as well. You can filter by deposit, incentive, bonus, whatever it may be. It's all there. And you can see all the different layouts. So if you're doing a presentation with your client, rather than sending them multiple emails, you can show them each individual layout of these 6 different projects side by side and see which layout speaks to them over and above just the price. If you go lower, you'll have a visual comparison of the price. Cheapest one out of the 6 stack is Hearth. Price per square feet, the lowest price per square feet, as you can see, is Central City. Square footage, largest, per phase 2. And your deposit, the lowest ones are Central City, per phase 2. Chronicle does not disclose that as of right now, and we can always update that record as we come. So we try to update each individual record on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis, depending on how transparent that the developer is. Not every developer wants to give this information. If you ever dealt with a developer like Bosa, they will advise you that it's low 500,000s, mid 500,000s, or high 500,000. They will not disclose a price until you have a client that's ready to go and they're going to put in an offer. Then they'll disclose the actual listing price. So some of the stuff that we have that we don't have the exact number, we will show you and have full transparency and honesty of why this is priced at a certain stage or the price is not correct because of these factors, right? So we also have deeper reports that we're going to also present to realtors once we have it built out, of the exact methodology of how we actually got to these specific numbers for this specific layout. So when you present it to your client, you can let them know that this is up to date for at this date. These individual records are up to date through an email, through a PDF, through the sales presentation visit, and it'll actually document that this is how the price came out. Was it through an email PDF? Was it because we talked to the sales manager, or was it from a visit to the site? So these records are going to get deeper. So once you present something like this, you can also back it up with all the information provided that how up to date this is and how active are you actually in pre-sales and new construction. Again, you can also export these in live URL. So from there, I am just going to go to now my records. And this is where all they live. You can see how many you got saved, how many are current, and you can expand it here. So again, any of the price points that you feel are the best. And as a realtor, maybe these are the ones you start marketing out on social media. You have these reports. We have AI. You should be actively doing this, not only for your client, but talking to social media and doing outbound and trying to get more clients. Where we feel that this is very powerful as well is if you are a new realtor or an older realtor that has experience and you don't have any clients or you don't have any listings, you should be promoting pre-sales and new construction if you can't promote any other listing. You should also be part of this, that you can compare resales if you're so experienced with resales to see if there's any deals on the new construction and pre-sales that your client may have missed that they potentially might be willing to go for. Now, we were closing a client ourselves at the end of November that they needed to move into a home within the next few months. And first, we were originally looking at resale. However, one of the townhomes that we looked in the system that ended up being the best pricing was completing 2 months later. We were able to close that deal, best price point based upon the information we had with the layout, and they're able to move into a brand new townhouse that completed within the same year. So it also depends on your client, which you understand yourself is when are they looking to move in, what is their timeline, and those questions as a professional you're asking your client. And then you can use this to navigate pre-sales and new construction to make sure you find the best deal, the best layout for your client. And with that, I am done with this demo. I apologize if it was dry, but here we are.
No, dude, it's amazing. Well done, boys. This is incredibly powerful. It's fantastic. I love it.